A mine in the Gulf of Oman destroys a supply ship. And more details today of the president's close call in the air.
NBC Nightly News, reported by Connie Chung.
Good evening. A supply ship was blown to bits today when it hit a mine in the Gulf of Oman, the same area where a mine damaged a U.S.-operated supertanker last Monday. Of the 12 crew members on the supply ship, 1 is known dead, 6 injured, 5 missing feared dead. They were all foreign nationals. The incident came just 2 days after the United Arab Emirates declared the waters safe. With more on the story, NBC's Martin Fletcher.
The crew didn't have a chance. Their only protection against mines was their eyesight, and when their boat hit the mine, it sank immediately. Half the crew were killed, the rest wounded and rescued after 30 minutes in the sea.
You hear big bomb, is that?
This, I think so, this bomb, big sound only, I don't know.
The supply boat, Anita, delivered water to tankers anchored off Fujairah port, which only 2 days ago had been declared safe for shipping. The Port Authority claimed to have cleared the area of mines. But within minutes of sighting today's wreckage, our TV crew spotted 2 more mines very close by. This despite the port manager's confident assessment earlier that the mine danger was over.
We're confident that it was a one-off situation. We don't feel that it will happen again.
But the English captain who died today wasn't so confident at all. He told a reporter yesterday these waters were not safe. The mine that blew up the Anita should not have been a surprise. An unidentified ship's captain yesterday saw something in the area and reported it through marine radio.
Security, security, security. Suspected black floating object within 50 to 100 meters of position.
If security ever checked, they didn't find the mine. And it was the same story for at least one other mine. A Greek captain Tuesday reported a suspicious object near his tanker, but nobody checked.
Just asking to you if we mine, because I informed yesterday to make investigation, not to inform me if it's true it's mine, but nobody came last night to make investigation.
It was a mine 200 yards from his ship. The captain told us he was worried by the slow reaction of the Port Authority. 2 days later, the mine was detonated and the area declared safe. Now, after today's explosion, a 50-square-mile exclusion zone has been declared off Fujairah again. The question is, why was the port in such a hurry to declare the area safe? Martin Fletcher, NBC News in the Gulf.
Iran announced today that minesweepers from the Iranian Navy have begun operations in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian television broadcast these pictures showing a sizable Navy task force at sea, complete with helicopters and support ships. A Tehran newscaster said the task force was searching for mines in international waters, but so far no mines had been found. In Saudi Arabia, an explosion ripped through an Arabian-American oil company plant at a key Saudi oil complex. Aramco employs thousands of Americans, but no Americans were injured. Saudi officials said only 4 people were injured. The cause was an electrical problem, not sabotage, as some locals feared. A State Department official says Iran is planning terrorist attacks on U.S. embassies all over the world. The Los Angeles Times quotes Robert Lamb, chief of the State Department's diplomatic security, as saying Iranian diplomats are casing U.S. embassies. A State Department spokesman today would only say U.S. embassies are taking appropriate precautions. The FAA has released radio transmissions between President Reagan's helicopter and the airport tower just as the chopper avoided colliding with a light plane. And more unusual details of the incident emerged today. NBC's Charles Gomez has more on that and the pilot of the light plane who was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Pilot Ralph William Myers was handed over to military police last night. An Army private, absent without leave since August 3rd, he told investigators that he was taking a passenger to a meeting with a nephew of former President Richard Nixon when he mistakenly strayed into restricted airspace. Federal aviation officials have released a tape recording of radio communications between the tower in Santa Barbara and Marine One, the president's helicopter.
Marine 1, traffic 12 o'clock, 2 miles opposite direction, altitude unknown. Marine 1, we got this guy right going underneath us. He just flew over the ranch at about 100 feet. I want to fly later. We can find out who it is. Marine 1, roger. I'll keep an eye on him.
Myers rented the Piper Archer airplane from this company in Vancouver, Washington. A copy of the medical certificate he filed here indicates that he needs corrective lenses to fly. Myers reportedly told investigators he was looking for his contact lenses when the near miss occurred. Those who know him believe he simply made a mistake.
I'm sorry that it happened, and I'm sure that Mr. Myers didn't well, you just got in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Although no decision has been made yet, the U.S. Attorney's Office here is considering filing criminal charges against Myers for endangering the president. Charles Gomez, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Coming up on NBC Nightly News, President Reagan boosts his support for the Contras despite the pending peace plan.
When you buy a pair of Corning prescription lenses that change, it's like getting free light tints, free medium tints, dark tints, and a whole range of free sunglasses. Corning lenses. When you're buying eyeglasses, these are the ones to buy.
Now there's peaches and fruit.
Oh, I know. It's fruit and... Oh, it's new, and it has all these luscious peaches. Sing it again.
New peaches and fruit.
With all these peaches, it's easy to forget.
You're gonna love it just for the taste.
Sweet sun-ripened peaches, fat raisins, crunchy almonds, and high-fiber flakes. Introducing a peachy new post-fruit and fiber cereal.
I knew that.
Tastes so good, you forget the fiber.
You're gonna love it just for the taste.
I'm an easy guy to satisfy, I only want the best. Sierra is the pickup designed to pass the test. Performance with the spirit that I've never felt before. My new GMC Sierra, it's not just a truck anymore. My new GMC Sierra, it's not just a truck anymore. Oh no.
Have you thought about Pam? Butter flavor, just 2 calories with a taste you'll savor. You should think about Pam. There's none of this or that. If you like butter flavor, we got it down pat.
Butter Flavor Pam Cooking Spray, a natural alternative to butter.
In his weekly radio address today, President Reagan said again that he's not about to abandon the Contra rebels in Nicaragua, although he didn't say what kind of support he was talking about. But as White House correspondent Robin Lloyd reports, the resignation yesterday of presidential envoy Philip Habib is a signal that the Contra pipeline is not about to be shut down.
At the California White House, aides are denying that they are backing away from the Central American peace plan. But in his radio address today, the president made it clear that the plan would need to be perfected before he would ever agree to give up support for the Contras.
Our support for the freedom fighters should continue until a satisfactory peace plan is in place. A ceasefire has occurred, and a verifiable process of democratization is underway.
The president made no mention of yesterday's surprise resignation of his special envoy to Central America, Philip Habib. But even before President Reagan arrived in California, White House officials knew that Habib wanted out. At a National Security Council meeting earlier this week, a serious debate over Central American policy arose between Secretary of State Schultz and National Security Advisor Frank Carlucci. Schultz wanted Habib, who he regarded as a State Department loyalist, to go to Central America to open talks with regional leaders, including the Sandinistas. But the proposal was turned down. Conservatives like Republican presidential hopeful Jack Kemp were ecstatic that Schultz had lost this battle.
So the State Department, generally speaking, just wants Ortega's signature on a piece of paper, and I think that would be the equivalent of Adolf Hitler signing the Munich peace agreement.
Democrats like House Majority Whip Tom Foley were chagrined.
It's a blow to the peace process to have Ambassador Habib resign.
Officials here are now making it clear that the White House will play the lead role in coordinating the Central American policy. Aides say there are no plans to replace Habib at this time, but they emphasize that if a new special envoy is appointed, his loyalties would have to be to the White House, not the State Department. Robin Lloyd, NBC News, with the president in Santa Barbara.
There was more turbulent weather today in the Midwest, but nothing like yesterday's record rainfall in Chicago, 9.2 inches in 24 hours. As Jim Cummins reports, the mops were out today, and most people were keeping an eye on the forecast of 40% chance of rain tonight.
This was the day when thousands of people struggled to recover from the heaviest rain in Chicago's history. The worst problem today was in the suburbs, on small rivers, downstream from the flooded areas. Many of those rivers have overflowed, forcing even more people to flee their homes and businesses. At midday, the Red Cross estimated at least 3,000 homes had been seriously flooded, and more than 1,000 people had been forced to evacuate their homes. So far, the storms and flooding have been blamed for at least 4 deaths, including a man who drowned in his basement. Many of these same suburban areas were flooded during heavy rains last October. Illinois Governor Jim Thompson was out meeting flood victims today.
The tragedy of it is that a lot of the damage is in homes that got hit really hard last October. So they got a double whammy twice within the course of a year that they wouldn't have expected to get in 100 years, and they got hit.
Thompson called out the National Guard and declared parts of 2 counties disaster areas, making these people eligible for state aid. Today, all roads leading into O'Hare Airport were reopened. The terminal was crowded with passengers, and there were more than the usual number of flight cancellations. Hundreds of volunteers are sandbagging, while 77,000 telephone and electric utility customers are waiting for service they lost during the heavy rains and flooding. As thousands of people struggle to recover from this latest weather disaster in Chicago, one weatherman gave them something to think about. 9.2 inches of rain. He said if the rain had been snow, they would have been buried under 92 inches of it. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Chicago.
A former financial advisor of Attorney General Ed Meese has been ordered to jail for contempt in the probe of the Wedtech Corporation. W. Franklin Chin, who once managed an investment fund for Meese, was cited for refusing to turn bank records over to a grand jury.
There's a new stone-washed jean from Wrangler, made for a man after his work is done.
It's the Subaru year-end clearance! The greatest Subaru deals in Subaru history! Stupendous Subaru savings!
Hold it! Instead of a great deal of hype, Subaru gives you a great deal. Up to $1,500 factory cash back or 3.9% financing. Great deals on just about every model, including a wide range of Subarus under $10,000. Up to $1,500 back or 3.9%. With cars and deals that good, you don't have to shout.
We've been kidding ourselves.
In trying to get all the fiber recommended by the National Cancer Institute, people added fruit, vegetables, and cereal to their diets. Unfortunately, some added the wrong cereal. You see, unlike Kellogg's All Bran, 99% of other cereals don't provide the additional amount of fiber recommended. 99%. Why settle for a fraction of the fiber you can get?
We were kidding ourselves.
When there's Kellogg's All Bran.
A beautiful Oregon lake in the Cascade Mountains is the latest battleground between developers and environmentalists. An energy company seeking new sources of geothermal steam wants to drill deep into the lake bottom. Naturalists fear that exploration risks spoiling the lake and its wilderness surroundings. NBC's John Oliver reports.
Crater Lake is the nation's deepest. In the heart of an Oregon volcano which erupted 7,000 years ago. The water about the bluest, clearest, and purest of any American lake. Hundreds of thousands come to this national park every year.
To the deepest point in the lake is 4,000 feet.
In the mountains just outside the park, last winter an energy company began drilling, looking for evidence of geothermal steam to turn into electricity in power plants. The drilling has created great concern among U.S. Park Service officials.
We're pretty well convinced that there's a direct relationship between the lake and geothermal.
There is a theory that hot springs feed the lake, that they could be connected underground in the area where drilling is taking place. This week, scientists sent down a submersible robot with a television camera. The aim was to look for any hot spring vents on the floor of the lake, 1,500 feet down. And they think they found some, like cracks on the bottom. More exploration is needed.
We'd like to fly in 2 manned submersibles
and actually go down, locate the hot springs, characterize them, perhaps map them, and sample them.
If the scientists do establish conclusive proof that there are hot springs at the bottom of the lake, the discovery would not offer direct proof that the lake would be adversely affected by any geothermal exploration nearby.
I really don't think that there would have any direct effects on it.
He is a geologist for the Bureau of Land Management, which authorized the geothermal drilling on U.S. forest land. Other government scientists agree with him. The drilling operation is shut down, awaiting new permits. But the energy company geologists said tests so far look promising.
If I thought there was any chance that we could have a negative effect on that lake, I couldn't be personally involved in this project.
Environmentalists say any risk is too great.
We shouldn't be putting it to any risk to fuel a few more air conditioners in Southern California.
Unfortunately, the only way to know for sure is to drill deeper. And by then, it might be too late. Don Oliver, NBC News, Crater Lake, Oregon.
A woman in Liverpool, England, gave birth to 7 children today, setting a British record for multiple births. 4 girls and 3 boys, about 4 months premature, were delivered by cesarean section. One of the boys died within a half hour of birth. The others are under intensive care. The mother had been taking a fertility drug.
Great party, honey.
Oh, I hope there's room for all these leftovers.
Bet they finished my world-famous jalapeno dip.
Anything's possible.
Whirlpool refrigerators are so easy to use because they have adjustable shelves. Even shelves on Whirlpool doors adjust to fit almost anything.
Look, there's even room for this full bowl of your world-famous jalapeno dip.
Are you sure you put it on the table?
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool. Have you driven a Ford?
Now get low 1.9% financing or a $600 cash bonus on America's award winner, Ford Taurus, and Thunderbird, including Turbo Coupe. Also get 1.9 financing or $400 cash bonus on Escort and Tempo. Combine the cash bonus with option package discounts and save up to $1,358 on Tempo, $1,094 on Escort, $1,150 on Taurus, and $1,682 on Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. Great values at your Ford dealer now.
What could top an antacid that works great, that's sodium-free and calcium-rich? Great cherry taste. Cherry-flavored, calcium-rich Rolaids antacid. The relief you want, the taste you desire.
The Greenland Eskimos. Studies link their low incidence of heart disease to a fish diet rich in omega-3. Only Promega, cholesterol-free Promega, has the highest percentage concentration of natural omega-3. All natural, more omega-3, cholesterol-free.
This was a national holiday in South Korea, but there was no respite from demonstrations. Riot squads in Seoul battled 6,000 strikers demanding higher pay and union reforms. The strikes have hobbled South Korea's economy. During the first 10 days of August, exports were off almost $500 million. The reasons behind the labor problems from NBC's Steve Mallory.
They want more pay, better working conditions, and their own free labor unions. Tens of thousands of South Koreans across the country are backing up those demands with crippling strikes which are undermining the nation's economy. Most segments of the labor force have been affected: taxi drivers, coal miners, factory workers. Some of the disputes have been violent. Workers have battled with riot police. But the violence has not been widespread. The heart of the problem is the government's rigid control of the nation's labor force.
The workers perceive that they are not appropriately compensated. Their wage increases were dictated or decided exclusively by employers and by government.
Cheap labor has fueled the country's economy. The average South Korean works a 54-hour week, the world's longest work week. He earns an average $1.75 an hour. When South Korea's president, Chun Doo-hwan, declared sweeping democratic reforms July 1st, the nation's workforce began to agitate for labor reforms as well. Since then, there have been at least 650 labor disputes. Since strikes are virtually illegal here, the government has usually dealt harshly with strikers. But now, officials are taking a more open view, urging labor and management to negotiate settlements. They've been talking on hillsides and in conference rooms. making concessions, and raising salaries. But to date, more than 200 disputes remain, and more strikes are threatened if demands are not resolved more quickly. Steve Mallory, NBC News, Seoul.
Classes at Birzeit University on Israel's occupied West Bank resumed today after a 4-month shutdown imposed by the Israeli government. The Palestinian university, with an elite and politically active student body, receives financial support from all over the Arab world. NBC's Steve Delaney reports.
It is not true that Birzeit University is closed as often as it's open. It just seems that way.
And I'd like to welcome you after the longest closure in the history of our university.
Classes resumed today after a 4-month shutdown imposed by the Israelis in the oldest and most politicized of West Bank universities. To Palestinians, Birzeit is a political statement. To Israelis, it's a political threat. Resentment and resistance and revolution are not on the curriculum here, but they are on the campus. And sometimes they boil over, as in April when a student was killed during a riot. That's what closed Birzeit the last time, and that's why Akram Baker's graduation has been delayed. He grew up in the U.S., and his father is on the faculty at Birzeit. During his enforced vacation, he worked at Jerusalem's English-language Arabic newspaper. He discounts Israeli claims that Birzeit is a security threat.
You just can't expect people to keep on believing this excuse of security threat, security threat, security threat. I mean, you've looked around. We're not a bunch of terrorists walking around the streets armed. We're just normal students like any other college.
In truth, they are passionately pro-PLO and anti-Israeli. Education under occupation magnifies the normal tendency of students to label the establishment unjust. And here, when those feelings spill over the campus walls, the Israelis clamp down.
We do it against our will. We want the universities to be open, but we can't allow that they will turn to a battlefield.
After a couple of classes today, there was a march under the outlawed Palestinian flag by about half the 2,400 students. This time, they stayed on the campus, and the Army stayed off, in spite of provocative rhetoric. As long as they do, the university that the Israelis chartered in 1972 will remain a West Bank flashpoint, where resistance and reprisal collide at the expense of education. Steve Delaney, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
After the Chernobyl nuclear power plant explosion last year, the Soviet Union promised to report any nuclear incident without delays. Today, 2 weeks after an underground nuclear explosion, the Russians admitted there was a small gas leak but no radioactive fallout. The announcement came after inquiries from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark that there was an increase in the level of radioactive iodine in the atmosphere.
When you drive a Yugo, it's good to know you've got 4-wheel independent suspension, front-wheel drive, and rack and pinion steering, all for $39.90.
Buy a little freedom, buy a Yugo.
Eric, I'm sorry.
Forget it.
You're here. Sit. I'm really sick.
Eric, your breath's so bad, I can see it.
There it is.
Where's my mouthwash?
I bought something new.
It's blue.
Just taste it.
Introducing Scope Peppermint. Peppermint like you've never tasted before. Cool, crisp. Wow. Like original mint, it's got the power to kill germs like medicine-y mouthwash, and your breath's icy clean.
How's that?
Oh, excuse us. Oh.
Now the power of Scope comes in peppermint, too.
A look ahead at foreign policy and intelligence operations after the Iran-Contra affair with National Security Advisor Frank Carlucci and key Congressman Lee Hamilton, Sunday on Meet the Press.
America is sending her best. The swift. The strong. The athlete. August 29th, America's Best will be competing in Rome, and NBC will be there.
Yep, it's me. You've heard me talking about these for years. American Express traveler's checks. I know you've been taking them with you when you travel overseas, but how about taking them with you when you vacation here in the U.S.? Think about it. You can lose your money close to home just as easily as you can halfway around the world. American Express traveler's checks, wherever you go. don't leave home without them.
Looking for a home with Greg was like everything else in our marriage. I wanted this. He wanted that. We both won.
We're America's home sellers. Coldwell Banker, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
Dr. Samuel Mudd, he was one of the men caught up in the aftermath of the assassination of President Abraham Lincoln. Mudd went to prison for treating the man who shot the president. In the 122 years since, members of the Mudd family have been trying to clear the doctor's name. This week, some of them visited the Florida Island prison cell where their ancestors served his sentence. NBC's Noah Nelson reports.
87-year-old Richard Mudd has come to this island off the coast of Florida many times. On this trip, he has brought several of his grandchildren. He says it is a pilgrimage in honor of an innocent man.
When I was 16 or 17 years old and learned that my grandfather was put in prison for setting a leg of a man who shot Lincoln, from that point on, I was driven.
He says he became driven to force the government to clear the name of his grandfather, Dr. Samuel Mudd. In April 1865, actor John Wilkes Booth assassinated President Abraham Lincoln.
Mr. Lincoln has been shot.
A 1936 movie dramatizes what followed. When Booth jumped from the balcony of Ford's Theater, he broke his leg. The doctor he found that night was Samuel Mudd. For treating Booth, Mudd was charged with aiding the assassin. He was sentenced to life in prison on the Devil's Island of the Caribbean, Fort Jefferson.
In 1865, there was no screening, no refrigeration, no water, and no sewage. He was sent there for hard labor. And in one of his letters, he said, "I'm chained night and day. My grandfather never saw any friend or relative after he was there."
When an epidemic of yellow fever hit the island, Dr. Mudd helped save the lives of hundreds of men. For his work, he was pardoned after 4 years in prison. The plaque honoring Dr. Mudd is what his descendants, especially the young ones, have come to see.
Well, I think he was a hero helping all the people who got sick when they needed him.
Even after a 70-year effort, the family has not been able to get the doctor's name cleared in court. Members say it is simply a matter of justice. According to Richard, the fight has made the family closer, and along the way, it has found pride in the name Samuel Mudd. Noah Nelson, NBC News, Fort Jefferson, Florida.
And that's our news. Tomorrow on Meet the Press, National Security Advisor Frank Carlucci and Congressman Lee Hamilton. Andrea Mitchell will be sitting in for Chris Wallace. And Garrick Utley will be here tomorrow night. I'm Connie Chung in New York. I'll see you again next Friday night. Thank you for joining us, and for all of us at NBC News, good night.